Guys, after subscribing to this channel, please make sure that you also press the bell icon so that no notification, no new video of mine, any educational video, is missed by anybody.
All right, guys, let's begin with the class tonight. It's on June 25, paper number 1, and a very recent paper, very important paper. Initially, I made these questions with the questions given by my students, okay? But then the paper was released, and I have tried to encompass the marking scheme, the exact questions, and I have the paper also in front of me. So just in case I have not written down anything, I'll just add the marks. All right, let's begin, guys, with the first question. The first question that was asked were the muscles attached to the perineal body. This question is of 2 marks only. So I'll just add 2 marks, and you know that what are the muscles attached to the perineal body. I'll just you have superficial muscles as well as you have some deep muscles. Superficial may you have bulbospongiosis, superficial transverse perineal, ischiocavernosus. Deep may you have deep transverse perineal, external and external anal as well as external urethral sphincter. Amongst the levatorinae, you have puborectalis, pubococcygis, and these are the ones. Okay, so this is your perineal body somewhere over here, and perineal body has an attachment of all these muscles. Okay, bulbospongiosis, superficial transverse perineal, ischiocavernosus, deep transverse, external anal, external. In males, so please skip this part. I'll skip it for you because it's that's for the males. Let's skip that. Puborectalis and pubococcygis. All right, and then I have got various diagrams so that it emphasizes upon you this is the perineal body. Bulbospongiosis, ischiocavernosus, it's got superficial as well as deep transverse perineal. All the levators over here will find some attachment as well, right over here. Correct? Clear so far, everyone? Now, the second question, that was just 2 marks, huh? So just enumerate will do. Enumerate the question will do. Next was the course of pudendal nerve and its branches. It's a 4 marks question. The course as well as the supply. It's a 4 mark question. So amongst the course, this pudendal nerve, guys, can be asked in various forms. This time it was asked the course as well as supply. They can ask you the clinical importance as well later on. So the course is that the pudendal nerve is formed by contributions from what the ventral roots of 2nd, 3rd, and 4th sacral nerve. So it's arising from ST, S3, S4. It exists through the pelvis through the greater sciatic foramen located inferior to the piriformis muscle, and it crosses the sacrospinous ligament. This is the one which is very important because at the time of sacrospinal fixation, you can have injury to this nerve, the pudendal nerve, and then it re-enters the pelvis through the lesser sciatic foramen. So that means it goes through the greater sciatic foramen and enters again through the lesser sciatic foramen. It then traverses within the pudendal canal, again a very important part of fibro-osseous tunnel along with the lateral wall of ischioanal fossa. So you can here give the pudendal block to desensitize that area. Branches within this canal gives off to the inferior rectal nerve, perineal nerve, dorsal nerve, the clitoris of the penis, obviously, which is not there in us, but you can mention that. So basically, it's got a sensory supply to the external genitalia, perineal skin, and anal canal below the pectinate line. As far as motor innervation is concerned, that's to the external anal sphincter, the muscles of the pelvic floor, and the muscles of the perineum. All are important. And it's autonomic to the erectile tissue of the penis as well as the clitoris. So this becomes the important supply of the perineal pudendal nerve. This is the clinical significance. I've added it so that next time, suppose if the question is asked on this, you can obviously. So pudendal nerve entrapment is a compression of the pudendal nerve within the pudendal canal that can cause chronic pelvic pain, pain in the perineal area, and that's called pudendal nerve syndrome. And then you have the pudendal nerve block, which I just spoke to you about. Anesthesia given during childbirth to give relief from pain, or any other perineal surgeries if you want to do, you can do this. So here is a nutshell, the branches, the sensory innervation, motor and autonomic innervation, and you already know the clinical significance. Clear, guys? Clear, everyone? So my request again to all those students who are joining in by weird names, please make sure that you enter by your own names. It's very difficult for me to give access to those students who are not entering by their own names because some miscreants have already been doing a lot of trouble in the classes, and I don't want anybody to be involved in those activities. attend my class or enter my group. Then there was a question on perineal 3C injury and its repair. Okay, so this was a 4 marks question again. For this, you need to know the degree of perineal tear. So you have a third degree only. I have tried to tell you 3A, 3B, 3C. So less than 50% of external anal sphincter is 3A tear. More than 50% is 3B tear, and involvement of the internal anal sphincter is 3C. And here we are talking about the repair of the 3C. The question exactly was, describe the steps of repair of 3C perineal tear. I have a beautiful chart for you, and this is directly from the clinical guidelines. First of all women having a vaginal delivery are at risk of anal sphincter injuries, isn't it? Repair of third and fourth degree tears should be conducted by an appropriately trained clinician under trained supervision. Okay, repair should be in an operation theater. First of all, the first thing will be that the repair should be in operation theater with fully relaxing the patient. So under good regional or proper general anesthesia with good lighting, appropriate instruments, and if there is excessive bleeding, please use a vaginal pack. Repair in the delivery room may be performed in certain circumstances after discussion with a senior obstetrician, but nevertheless, you should have somebody who has expertise in managing such cases. Then let's talk about the first step. Step 1, the ends of the external anal sphincter first identified and grasped with temporary sutures because they often retract. So external anal sphincter you just hold with the two Alice, and then you put a stay suture in both of them and just hold them. The torn anorectal mucosa should be repaired with sutures, either using a continuous interrupted technique. But here, this is not the one because we're talking about 3C, not 4. So mucosa is not really involved. But as far as internal anal sphincter is concerned, yes, you should know that that is also supposed to be prepared exactly the same way like you do the external anal sphincter. Synthetic absorbable sutures 2030 vicryl polyglactin should be used to repair the anorectal mucosa. Knots must be absolutely tied external to the anal canal, should not be inside the canal. Anal mucosa is very thin. The mucosal repairs gradually and slowly perform. These are not the steps of 3C. These are the steps of, where are we? See. 4, stage 4. Here we are going up to internal anal sphincter, but I'm still giving you the answers. Why? Because all this is equally important to you. If at all this thing, I'll just mark it with red. Okay, this is not supposed to be your part. This part, wait. Okay, this part, the mucosa part, this is not your part, but I'm still making sure that you know about it, because next time this will be asked. Externally anal mucosa, this part is not your part. Okay, now when the torn internal anal sphincter can be identified, it is advisable to repair this separately with interrupted or mattress sutures. This step is performed by using 20 vicryl or 30 PDS. Remember this, the same thing goes for the external anal sphincter also. The vaginal wall suture is initiated to improve exposure and decrease vaginal bleeding, and 20 vicryl continuous sutures used beginning at the vaginal superior angle and is continued external canal. This is a different part I'm talking about. Let's start with step 1, in which you saw what part is torn. You gave stay sutures and you took the external anal sphincter in your hand. Then you started suturing with the help of 20 vicryl or 30 PDS, the internal anal sphincter. Then you suture the external anal sphincter. Then you start suturing the mucosa, the vaginal wall. By 20 continuous sutures. Okay, then the muscles and please mute yourself, guys. Okay, so now let's talk about the muscles that ends previously grabbed with the 2 temporary sutures must be tracked. Full thickness external anal sphincters, either overlapping or end-to-end approximation techniques should be done. For partial thickness tears, end-to-end technique should be used. And during obstetric anal sphincter repairs, knots should be buried beneath superficial perineal muscles. Avoid 8 to 8. These are all specific guideline points, girls and guys, everybody. Okay, so I'll just put it up properly with you. So this is what you do first. This one, you're talking about the internal anal sphincter. Then you go on to the external anal sphincter, which is here, step 3. This is the one which is the last, which is step 4. I'll just have to put this there. Okay. So we are going from internal anal sphincter to external anal sphincter, any further muscles, and then the vaginal mucosa. Correct? All right. Continue suturing the lower part of the vaginal wall. Stop the process just before the hymenal remanence. And then the perineal muscles and subcutaneous tissue are repaired with 2-0 bicular suture. Perineal skin is approximated with a subcuticular or interrupted sutures. These are specific guideline principles, okay, taken directly from the guidelines. All these are procedure recommendations. Rectal examination should be performed. Repair assessments should be done. Nil parole for at least 24 hours. Vitals and repairs should be examined before shifting to the ward. Broad spectrum antibiotics are recommended. Post-op laxatives should be used. Analgesics, anti-inflammatory drugs, sitz bath, antiseptic ointment. All this. Bulk agents should not be used. Follow-up visits should occur 7 to 10 days. Women should be advised about physiotherapy post OSS repair. Women should be reviewed postpartum 6 to 12 weeks after this repair. If the woman is experiencing incontinence or pain at follow-up, referral to a specialist gynecologist should be considered. Okay? Do not worry. I'll rearrange this thing so that you're able to understand step by step. These were taken directly from the guidelines and put at one place, but I'll explain you step by step when you see this PPT yourself. Everything will be arranged properly. Postnatal care, what we've already spoken about. This is how it looks. Now, this is end-to-end repair. This is overlapping repair. Remember, end-to-end repair will always be done when it is complete cut. Okay? Overlapping, we usually don't do. End-to-end is very safe because for everything, for internal anal sphincter, you can say end-to-end repair. For mucosa, you can say end-to-end repair. For external anal sphincter, you can say end-to-end repair. Overlapping repair is very, highly limited. Only in certain what do I say, external anal sphincter can use the overlapping repair, so don't mention it.